Happy New Year!
Happy 2025.
Yes, today, January 1st.
Absolutely. It's about 8:30 p.m. and we're recording a little pre-message because we have our first guest this week.
Yes, very exciting. Our friends Leesha and Nathan are on the podcast to tell their story of how they overcame a trial in their marriage.
Absolutely. We have two newly married people, very young love, two babies, well, one baby, one 2-year-old, and then a health crisis hits.
Yeah, it's a great story. You guys will enjoy it, I am sure. And we have part 1 tonight, and part 2 we're going to release on Sunday.
Yeah, actually, we spent a lot of time with them, and it's an incredible story. We get the backstory, we get the whole story, and we talk about what God's doing now with them, in them, through them, and through all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So check out tonight. Make sure you subscribe, and then Sunday it will be back on here. We'll see you then.
Enjoy.
Hi,
I'm Kristen.
that's Juju.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Kevin.
Okay. And we have two of my most favorite people.
Nathan.
I'm Leesha.
Very formal Nathan.
Now, I've always called you Nate. Am I supposed to be calling you Nathan?
No. You can call me whatever.
You call him Nate, right?
I call him Nathan.
Oh, you call him Nathan?
Yeah, that's his name.
It is his name, but...
When I get in trouble, it's Nate.
No, that's backwards.
Oh, okay. All right. So I need to switch. I need to call you Nathan.
Whatever you choose.
Okay. All right. They're a couple that's in our small group. They attend church with us, and we do life together, and they have a great story, and they graciously decided to grace our podcast with their appearance, and we're so excited.
Yes, no technical difficulties. We're all ready to go.
Yeah, 100%.
All is good.
All is good.
Yes.
How was Christmas?
It was good. It was very relaxing. It was just us and our girls. And it was nice. We got to, we don't keep our phones on, so it was just the four of us, and we did every time they opened up a toy or whatever, we would make sure we played with it till they were done. And then we had lots of charcuterie stuff, and
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
it was
How long
fun.
did it take for them to open all their presents by doing it like that?
I don't know, what do you think?
About an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of it was clothes. And then the toys that they did get had to get the zip ties cut off, the rubber bands cut off, batteries put in, set up.
Yeah.
It
So
wasn't horrible.
So,
we
Crystal.
don't get a lot of toys.
you have two girls, and their ages are
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
Worst Christmas present ever for the girls.
You mean for us?
Yeah.
What we did?
Yeah.
So it was only
Skylar
and Tabby.
Trini was
What
little.
I was gonna say.
Trini was little.
Yeah. Trinity was a baby, and we were rookies, at gifts
Yeah.
and at giving kids gifts. So, we bought this really
Disney
cool. Was it?
Prince-
Oh yeah, it was Disney princesses. Disney princesses.
junk thing.
No.
Baby doll set.
Yep, it was a baby doll set, and it had
Like that
all different
stroller-
furniture, a stroller, a high chair. Yes, and we were going to just have it set up so Christmas morning they would get up and it'd be under the tree. We weren't going to wrap it or anything, so we had bought it weeks before, stored it in the basement in a box, and we went. It had to be midnight, Christmas Eve. Everyone's asleep, and here we are setting everything up under the tree.
But we didn't read
And
the
we
fine
opened the box.
print on the
Always
box.
read the fine print. What did it say?
Baby dolls not included. Oh no.
Oh my gosh, we're getting them baby dolls. And there's no baby dolls in the box. So what did we do?
Kristen went to the bottom of the toy box, dug out baby dolls, had to clean them up. She's scrubbing their faces, making them look nude, doing hair.
No.
They never knew.
They never knew. Well, now they know.
Impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
Impressive.
that's what happened.
That was horrible. That was the worst. By far. I mean, I remember when the girls were little, your girls, and putting that stuff together that it's kids' toys are like IKEA. They're like, oh, we're going to put all this stuff in the box, and like all the pieces are this big, and the screws are like this big, so it breaks when you, yeah. Horrible.
Do you set up first, or do you just give it to them in a box and then you have to spend the rest of the day setting up?
Oh, I think it depends on what it is, right? Because one year we got them like this like jungle gym thing, and we wanted it set up.
Yeah.
So when they came down, they could like just jump into it.
Yeah.
But anything else, we're like, do you know what it is? Here.
Let's all find out together.
Yeah.
No, they're fine.
I remember, do you remember Easter when we got them the swing set?
No.
Remember that? We got them a swing set, like a wooden swing set.
Yeah.
So what better to put it together at night so that it's ready?
Did you do that? Did you put together I don't remember.
Well, I started. And then I'm like, this is the stupidest idea ever. So yeah, the next day I was putting the swing set together. But that was the whole plan. I was going to put this together at night. They'll wake up in the morning. It'll be great.
What was their favorite present this year?
Makeup.
Oh.
Yes, I forgot about the makeup. Yeah.
Something for Daddy to do with them.
Well,
Yep, they painted my fingernails all the time.
Perfect.
it's
Let's
all about
see.
being a girl dad.
Right now, I took them off.
You did.
I did. I was on the way to work, and I just happened to look down, and they were still there. And
It was
as I'm
pink.
driving, I'm feeling the nail polish off, and my truck is swerving because I'm peeling off nail
that
polish.
truck that was swerving on the road. That was
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Sir, why are you swerving? Can you take a breathalyzer? It's nail polish.
nail polish.
Sir, it's nail
I
polish.
was covered in it.
Cannot go to work like this.
Yeah.
It's
That's
fantastic.
hilarious.
After they went to bed, he's like, "How do I take this off?"
You're like, you can't. It's
Just don't.
permanent,
Just
honey.
leave it. You're a girl dad. It's just that is what it is.
You're a girl
Leave
dad.
it on.
I love it.
There are much worse things than being girl dad.
So tell us. So how long have you guys been married?
6 years in October.
That's exciting.
Mhm.
And together for
11
11?
in May.
Really?
This upcoming May is 11 years.
Oh boy.
so you were right with the 10.
Yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
I was jumping ahead.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's awesome.
And part of our story is that couples have a lot to overcome, no matter if they want to or not. Jesus said, in this world, you will have troubles. And it doesn't necessarily even mean that we give each other troubles, but we do. But some of them are things that come to us. So I think it's really important for all of us to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And we thank you for being on the show. So tell us a
Thank
little
you for
bit
having us.
Oh, anytime.
We're
Can be
excited.
regulars.
We're a little nervous, but we're excited.
Well, luckily, we don't have many followers right now, so it's a good place to start. I said, thank you for choosing us over Jimmy Fallon or
Yep.
any
I
of the
told
other
you, we had a
people.
line of people
Yeah.
wanting to hear
Jimmy
this.
Fallon kept calling me.
Did he?
His guys kept calling my
I
guys.
said,
and-
no, we have to
Yeah.
go to Kevin and Kristen's.
Nice.
Love
Nice.
it. So tell us about how you guys met.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay, so long story short, we'll get on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My brother played hockey at a rink that he worked at, and I didn't know that obviously at the time. But he looked way older because he's got this full beard, like just like this. So I thought he was way older, but I was 15.
Oh, wow.
I was 15, and every time we had a game, I would see him there, and I'm like, oh, he's obviously a worker because he's here all the time. And I had a huge crush on him. And there was
The
one
Zamboni driver.
The older man.
Exactly. And there was one incident where like I had always got like a coffee because I drink coffee at 15. And
That's why it stunts your growth.
and I had poured my sugar in, but it was salt.
Oh.
We didn't know it. Like no one obviously knew. It was just like, common error.
Wow.
And when
Wait,
I
was
drank it,
Did someone put the salt in the sugar thing, or did
Yes.
you use the salt shaker?
no, they put salt in it, so it was totally not my fault.
Okay.
So I put it. I was like, oh, this is not good. So I had to go to the counter, and then I think were you working in the back? Maybe.
I was working everywhere at that point.
Well, anyway, they had fixed it and they put sugar in it. Well, when I went again to get my cup of coffee, the whole lid came off. So all of the sugar that they now put in there went into this small styrofoam cup of coffee. And it went all over the floor and it was all over the counter. And
Wow.
he had to come and clean it up.
So really good first impression.
Mm-hmm.
So I was obviously very embarrassed. So yeah, fast forward, my brother stopped playing hockey. I never thought I would see him ever again. We're in college, and I think I'm sitting with one of my girlfriends, and all of a sudden I see him walk by. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the guy that I have a crush on. Like after I was then 19, so all those years later, there he is. And you want to tell your side?
What part?
Well, but I was thinking the cafeteria part.
Oh. I would have a break, and we had a Tim Hortons. We both went to N-Trep. So there was a Tim Hortons. I'd have an hour lunch break, and she would go and get her coffee and whatnot, and I'd be sitting right in the cafeteria, and we spotted each other once or twice, and after, I don't know, I think the whole semester, I would specifically wait for her to come so I can see her, and then I would go to my class.
Aw.
Yeah, but
Aw.
behind this, like, I thought that he thought, I was thinking that he was thinking that I was being weird, that I would always get a coffee at that time, because I was also looking to see him before my
Oh.
class. But we didn't know that about each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I wouldn't go because I felt like I was being too obvious.
Oh my goodness.
So
This whole game with the
And
story.
I felt like, oh my gosh, like, where is she? Like, what happened? Why isn't she here? Why can't we didn't have each other's number. We never introduced one another. So we didn't know.
No, in the cafeteria, were we just looking at each other? You were talking.
it was just like eye contact waiting in line.
And that was it. I'd get up and leave, and she'd get her coffee and go to class, and that's it.
So
Yeah.
you're very patient.
And at what point did you actually talk?
Yes. So it was, so I was in a car accident in November of 2013. And I remember sitting at the table with my friends and whatever, and I was on pain medication, so I was not feeling myself. I wasn't well. And we had a mutual friend, and they were like, oh, Nate, come over and sit. And here he comes sitting at my table with all my
When you're
friends.
ready to go.
And I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I don't feel well. I probably look like I'm on medication. So that's kind of how it started. I think this was like when Twitter was like really popular. So we like exchanged Twitter handles. And that's how it all started.
Yeah. I don't know, Twitter.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Way
He
back
had to figure out how to use it after he's like, shoot, I just gave him my
Yeah.
information.
That's awesome.
That's how it started.
Awesome. So you've been married for you said 6 years?
6 years.
All right. So tell us your story. Were you both following Jesus when you met? What's your
I don't know. Did you want to go first?
No, it's okay. I'll go first. Where do I begin? I grew up, quote unquote, Catholic. Went to church here and there. Made my, what was it, the first communion or whatever.
Yeah.
Did that, stopped going.
Mhm.
Always knew there was a God, always believed, but never actually went to church, never got to experience that until I met Leesha. Her family, very Christian, goes to church every Sunday. Kind of not roped me in, but kind of helped me push my way in there.
Yeah.
And then started going every Sunday when we kind of were together more, right? And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's kind of like how it all started.
yeah.
Yeah. There was no like, it was kind of like, well, if you're going to be with me, like, this is what we do.
Mhm.
So if this is something you're interested in, then this is my life. So,
And then get on stepping.
yeah, but you were really good about it. He never like complained. You never were like, what's this about? Nothing like that.
Mhm.
So on the opposite end, I grew up a very Christian. But I don't want to say, we didn't really know when you're young, you don't know right? You just kind of do what your parents are doing, but you have that background. And we just grew up, my papa on my dad's side was very involved in our lives. So he would always come and tell us like stories about like David and Goliath and like Queen Esther, and VeggieTales was a huge thing when we were growing up, right? So we got a lot of our stories from there, and he had a really good way of explaining it to us in a age appropriate way. Because Sunday school was like not good back then. I feel like they were just not child centered. Like they didn't know how to reach kids at that level, I guess. So yeah, a lot of our stuff was from my grandpa, but it just carried through life, and we all have our slip ups, and you kind of experiment with life and stupid things like that, right? But when I had met Nate, I was coming out of a pretty toxic relationship. So I really wasn't even like looking for anything, I think. I was just like, when it happens, more so just focus. I still love the Lord, but I wasn't in a relationship with the Lord, which, as we know, is like a huge difference. So when Nate and I got together, we just started, like, we would go to church, and not all the time. It wasn't like it was a strict thing, but we would go, and we'd kind of talk about it, and you just go about your life. And then fast forward, we ended up moving in together. And then we lived together for 2 years, right? 2 years. And then he proposed to me. I think we were dating like 2.5 years. And then, gosh, I don't even remember. It feels like so long ago. I don't even remember. This was back in 2016 at this point, right?
Oh, Kristen, 2016.
It just makes me feel old. It's okay. Keep going.
It feels like forever ago. No, and then we were planning our wedding, and a month before we were getting married, my papa, the one who was like basically like started that relationship with Jesus in our lives, he passed away. So that was really hard, but it made it more so like, he laid this foundation down for us, and it was like, we have to now continue this. Like, he's not here to like, he's passing that baton,
Left his legacy.
Yep.
Just talking about that.
Yep. So that kind of like sparked a lot of things, I think, in our lives. And then we worked at the same company at one point, Nate and I, and that was horrible. Don't ever work with your spouse.
Yeah.
That's how we met. That's how we met.
But we agreed it was horrible.
It was.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was.
it's
We've
never
done it a
a good
couple
idea.
times. Yeah.
No.
I definitely would sway against it.
Absolutely.
It's just everyone's in your business, and you can't keep anything private. Like, your marriage is your marriage.
Right.
And it should not be broadcasted. And so I think, let's see, what year are we in now? We got married in 2018. We worked together till about 2020.
Yeah.
And then that's when like COVID happened and stuff. However, we got pregnant with our first. And she was due in April 2020. So it was like right when COVID was like a big thing. So I actually took my maternity leave a little early. Because, they were saying all these things, and we don't know what was happening. And I just wanted to keep my baby safe, obviously. And I took an early leave, and then I never went back.
Okay.
And that's kind of like where it all started. We weren't expecting to have one income. It was very like, that was a God thing for sure. That was, we were hiring for nannies, and we thought we found one. And when we decided to hire her, I felt this just like this weight on my chest, and it was like something was speaking to me like, you're not supposed to go back to work. And it was so loud.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
By the way, don't ever try and hire a nanny. It is such a bad experience. Oh my god.
Everyone, if a nanny works for you, it works for you. It's just in our situation, it just didn't work out. But I heard, this like voice telling me not to go back. And we looked at each other, and I literally said, I don't think I'm supposed to go back to work. He goes, I don't think you are either.
Oh,
And that was it.
so nice.
So I think I had a couple part-time jobs here and there. I work part-time now. So
Yeah.
it works, whatever works for you, but I get to stay home and work from home. to raise our kids. So it's really
COVID
cool.
definitely changed that. So many people
Yeah,
get to stay home.
You, like, when we got married back in the days that had 19s in front of them, Kristen, we were working at the same company.
Oh, yeah.
And she decided that she didn't want to be there, and it was like right when the company was really getting ready to go down.
Which we didn't know, right? Because they had just moved into a big building.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of stuff that wasn't good and everything. And then Kristen stopped, and I left kind of when the senior managers left. And I was like, okay. And then we kind of had a little adventure where we went on a few years where we traveled around doing stuff. But like, she worked the next place I worked. I'm like, okay, I'll come, but my wife needs something too. So she actually they gave her a job there. We relocated. They gave her a job there. And then when Sky was born, it just, like, when we moved to North Carolina then, and then Sky was born, there was never a question. It was like,
right. It just didn't make sense. Like, not that everyone has to do that, but I didn't want to miss anything either.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can appreciate how much it's a gift, that you were there to see everything. It's huge. Like, so I get it.
Like that hiring a nanny thing. I couldn't imagine. I mean, like, what are the questions you ask the person you're...
Yeah, we don't know. This was our first.
Yeah.
So we're like,
it's crazy.
Can you hold a baby?
Yeah. It's like, how do you do that? Show us how you change a diaper.
Like 3 months old.
Yeah.
And she had actually a little one of her own too. So I was like, is she going to be able to do that?
Right. With the
two. And she was... The nanny would be watching our oldest, Anastasia, with her own child at her house.
So you're paying her to watch her kid and
it's like it was.
When it came down to it, we were like, "Listen, my paycheck was her paycheck."
Yeah,
right. That's the other thing. Well,
and that's what we went through for all the years. And Kristen, like, when the girls were little, she stayed home through them all.
Yeah, because basically, I mean, with 4 especially.
Yeah, like, unless you're making
just working to
7 figures,
be someone to raise
honestly,
your kids.
And you miss that part. And I think that was it's hard. I mean, there are times when it's like, oh, I wish we could do this, but we can't. But on the other side of it, I will say, like, it was worth every minute.
Yeah, the other side of it, absolutely.
Everything else, just for the time that you got with the girls and that, they got with one of us.
I have definitely no regrets on that. Even when I went back to work, I had to start over. It's not like I could just jump into management. I mean, I was gone for so many years. I had to start from the ground back up, but still no regrets. And I'm sure I'm not sure, but you have no regrets so far, right?
No, I don't. Obviously, there are days, but
there are days.
Oh boy, are there days. But no, I don't regret it at all. And actually, when we had Avery, she was our surprise baby. So it was just kind of like all full circle, like, oh, this is perfect because now I get to like stay home with 2 kids. And yes, your budget changes drastically and you have to make decisions on what you can and can't do, but you find what works for you and your family.
Right.
And I know that, I don't want to speak for you, but I know you love that their mom gets to stay home with them and raise them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, your budget changes. I think you learn more what's important. You learn
your priorities.
Yes. And then as you see them grow, you're like, I'm never having this moment again.
Yeah, exactly.
So you like at holidays even, we're like, it's about us and being with us, and like we have everything that we need, right? God provides everything that we need. Yes. So all we want is our family to be healthy and safe, and all we want to do is snuggle on the couch and watch movies half the time together because we don't need all that stuff.
Yeah. And there's time, and I will say that on the other side of it now, where the girls are 3 of them graduated, the one only a year and a half till that comes and stuff. As those seasons change, though, you change with it. They're not always going to be these beautiful little girls who want to snuggle with you and stuff. There will come a time, unfortunately, when they don't want to. And honestly, there's sometimes that they don't want anything to do with you. But cherish those times and just, those are the best times.
Yeah, I agree.
So tell us a little bit about your struggle and your story of overcoming.
Oh, let's see. Go ahead. I feel like I'm speaking for you a lot.
You're not. You're not speaking for me at all.
Well, okay. it should be noted that since we had some struggles in our marriage, that Nate has some memory problems, but we'll get into that, a little later. But I just want to note that I'm not speaking for him. Sometimes he just doesn't remember most of what has happened because it's just that kind of got like, yeah.
And I'm sure Nate will jump in and give his feelings on everything you're saying too. It's not like he's just letting you get away with chatting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's say we bought our house a month after we got married. I think last time we got home from our honeymoon and we were signing papers.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was so much fun. It was fun.
I was on the phone with the attorneys for our honeymoon with all the people trying to get everything figured out. And Leisha's like, tell them we're on our honeymoon. And I'm like, but this is our house. We have to get this done. Yeah.
Leave us alone. No, it was fun. We came home and we had our house, and if like us, we didn't do premarital counseling. So I think we talked about that. If we could go back and do one thing over, we would have did that because we never talked about finances or like what a budget would look like for two of us. How many accounts are we going to have? Are we going to share an account? What did you expect to pay for mortgage? What are you thinking is appropriate budget for groceries with the two of you? Basic things.
And that's a good point. You said expectations. Like, what did you expect? I think that's a lot of what people talk about in premarital, where, what you might think is one thing, you might be on a different page.
Yeah. And that is like when we do premarital, we talk about that a lot. Like your family of origin plays so much of a role in that. And
even if you don't notice it.
Even if you don't notice it, but like growing up with siblings and not growing up with siblings, things are different. Like you're the star of the show or you're vying for attention. And
sharing
holidays, like you said, grocery shop, just little
simple things that you never thought would become quote unquote issue are an issue
exactly
all of a sudden.
Suddenly very suddenly
in that first year
it's a
two
switch.
Because it's a switch because like until you get married you're like, oh, I want her.
I'm just gonna
so
buy
I'm gonna do everything I can.
I'm gonna make those decisions to buy this. Yeah.
But on the other side, when it's like, okay, I want her. I'm gonna do everything I can to be the person she wants.
Oh yeah.
So when
Even
when you start to notice those
person.
little things, it's like, oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And then when you get married at the beginning, same thing. It doesn't matter. But then as time goes on, you're like, that aggravates me.
Yeah.
Like that's not the way I would do it, or why are you doing this and stuff. So that first couple of years can be a little volatile.
But I think
as you learn each other.
Like Leesha was saying, there are even things that maybe you didn't identify ahead of time.
Little
right?
things
Like
that are like,
does he like leave the cereal bag open or does he roll it shut? Do I care how the toilet paper's on the roll or just that it's on the roll?
No.
Like we just like you don't even
there's that. You're together and everything that was an I becomes a we.
Yeah.
And you have to get acclimated to sharing but also communicating.
Yes.
So I think that first off, a communication was huge.
Yes.
And it I want to know still is. Communication is always
25 years later, it is still huge.
6 years later, we still struggle with that.
Yes.
I think communication's a big key that a lot of couples miss when they start going through the engagement and then they're married and they do all these different things. There's two people, you have to communicate. If you don't communicate, you're going to be on two separate pages.
Yeah.
And that's where we landed up a lot.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it becomes like, I do this, I do this, I do this. And then it's like, well, we do this together. Does this not work for you? And like, then you get into holidays and that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then if you had children, I mean,
right. You think everything's going fine.
We
and then
got
all
this
of a sudden
figured out. And it's like, we have a child or even a new one. It really, we're all set. But it changes with the other kids, you know what I mean? And that I think that was something that we didn't anticipate, like, and I don't know if you see that exactly when they're first born. You do a little bit, but as they grow, like that age difference and those things, like it could be a big thing for them, you know?
Well, with the kids, though, I think like you're thinking, okay, well, this is our family, so we're going to make the rules and we're going to do this. And you don't realize, wait a second, there's like this whole nother personality person here all of a sudden. And like they've got their own thoughts and wants. And like, so that's a whole, monkey
so they
wrench.
grow, they get a lot more thoughts and wants.
Yeah.
A lot more opinionated.
So anyway, go ahead. So no premarital counseling. So you're struggling with some.
That. So that was struggle. But then also you brought up earlier having siblings, not having siblings. So my parents separated when I was a senior in high school officially. They were already like pre-separated. So we were going, my brother and I, back and forth, which was hard. You know, I was a senior. Like I think that really took a toll on my high school years. Like I was totally not myself. You kind of like go out and do your own thing, and you're just rebelling a lot. Whereas like you don't have any siblings.
It's only me.
Just you.
Just me.
Star of the show.
Star of the show.
Well, it's also just you
and my mom. Right. My dad wasn't in the picture. He left when I was 9, and haven't really. We communicate via email, phone call, stuff like that. But
the dynamic was completely different. So now I have a separated home, and then I'm coming to meet someone who only has one parent.
Active parent,
yeah. And so coming into that was hard to navigate too, because he did not grow up how I grew up. And so some like of my triggers he wouldn't understand, and then I wouldn't understand some of his triggers. So even like talking about that, like that's, I feel like if we could have did it, you know,
differently,
it would have talked about our past a lot more. Because it helps to know your triggers and you to know mine, so that if something happens and I'm like freaking out,
I already kind of
over a simple thing, he knows like, oh, okay, you know, not tread lightly, but you know, I understand, I can sympathize with her.
Yeah.
But that dynamic was hard. Finances are always a thing forever.
Yes,
forever.
Forever and ever. And then you know, bringing kids into that as well. We even then, like, we never had a budget. We just were like doing things, and you know, so it's kind of like, okay, well, who's doing this and what bank account is this coming out of? And you're just like creating so much stress on each other, when it could have all been avoided in the beginning,
or at least
some,
right, at least brought up, at least
talked about,
started the discussion, right? Because
and I think that's the other thing, when the things do come up, it's not the most opportune time to have the discussion either. You know what I mean? Because normally there's some emotions that are behind those things,
right? When you're in the heat of the moment, why are you so
different? And then instead of when you have talked through it, even though you may have not resolved it, at least there's a base you have there where you know each other's
where they come
for
from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else? I mean, every marriage has struggles. I'm just trying not to... No, we don't have a lot of struggles. I'm just like listing off ones.
Yeah.
I know it seems like we're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible.
But then a big monkey wrench came into the situation on top of that.
Yeah, so we were married, we were married in 18, and we now had 2 kids. Our oldest had just turned 2, and this was April 2022. Yep, she just turned 2, and our youngest was 6 months. And do you remember this part? You want to tell this part?
Which one? The morning of?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's
no. We were actually. I was going to make this note. My other grandpa passed away, and we were going to his memorial service. It was months later because it was like horrible weather, and it was in Ohio, so we had to drive there, and we were eating. I don't know what we were doing, but then we ended up eating like a frozen pizza, like the night before or something like that. We're putting the kids to bed, and suddenly we both looked at each other and we're like, we don't feel very well, and fast forward, we both had food poisoning.
Oh.
We drove 5 hours to Ohio the next day, and we did what we had to do, and it wasn't bad. But we came home, and while like I was recovered, he still wasn't feeling well. So I think we have a family cabin that we'll go to for like Memorial Day. And we went there, and the guys was like, it was first being built, so it was like all rock, and like the guys were all down there like shoveling stone and stuff,
Just doing
and
a bunch of cleanup and trying to get everything prepared for the next cabin that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then I remember you texted my brother and my dad, and you were like, "Is anybody else having a really hard time like standing up? Like, are you guys really sore?"
So I texted them saying, are you guys sore? Do your legs feel like they're pins and needles? Texted back, no, we're just muscle soreness. I'm going, that's weird. I woke up, went to work, normal day. Everything from my waist down was pins and needles. I was walking and it was all pins and needles.
That was on Monday.
It was on Monday. My fingertips were cold and they were tingly. So I kept telling Leesha, I'm like, something's not right. I'm like, I must have pinched a nerve, did something really bad in my back. Go home, relax, go to bed early. Tuesday, I wake up, get ready like another normal day, get out of bed, and I just collapsed. Wake up, or I get back out of bed, she wakes up, and I go, I can't feel my legs. So I just go back into bed. I'm like, just
He just crawled back into
nothing
bed.
big. Perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Not
So what's his family?
And Leisha's mom works for a back and spine surgeon.
Okay.
She called her mom and said, hey, this is what's going on. What do I do?
He was in surgery that day,
Yeah.
so we couldn't take him to the office. I had to drive him to the hospital where he was actually doing surgery of that day for him to be evaluated. But we drove there. Actually, before that, you couldn't stand up, so he had to crawl out of bed and crawl down the stairs. And at this point, my kids are young, so I was like, I can't sit with you at the hospital with a baby. And
you called your dad.
I called my dad. My dad was like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, Nate can't walk. He's like, well, what do you mean? So like it was very like weird. So I remember my dad came and Nate couldn't stand up to like walk to the car. So he had to like crawl down like our front steps and then down our patio, like front porch steps. And then we both had to pick him up.
And I had to drag my feet every step. I had to drag my leg and kind of physically my entire body lift my leg up, and using them as my feet and my crutches. Got to the car, and then at that point went to Kenmore Mercy, and I was calling her, letting her know, like giving her updates constantly.
Yeah, this was Tuesday at this point.
Finally went to the hospital, filled out a bunch of paperwork, got into her room, and immediately the doctor at that point got MRIs, X-rays, everything like that done. And then I think it was after all these tests were done, I think I had, what was it? The next couple days I had a spinal tap done.
I had a spinal tap, I think, on Wednesday. And they were testing for like an array of things like Lyme disease and, asking us a bunch of questions. I'm like, well, we went camping, nothing like weird. Like, have you been sick recently? And we're like, yeah, now that you mention it, like we had food poisoning. And when they did the spinal tap, they were looking for the proteins to come back high or something like that, because it would then confirm that he had what's called Guillain-Barre Syndrome, GBS for short. And it did come back positive, and they immediately started him on, it was like an immunotherapy. And it was like so many vials after so many days of a drip. And they started him on that right away, and they said, just so you know, so this stuff gets worse before it gets better. So it's like in your head, like, okay, but we had no idea.
Yeah.
What you were about to face.
The vastness of like what this actually was. And nor had I ever heard of this before this day.
Right.
So, I'm home with the kids, and I think I remember Thursday, he was still able to like text me, but it was very gibberish. Like, you know.
That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great story of just love and God and what he's doing and what he's done and how good he is.
Yes. So I know you will want to come back on Sunday and listen to the second half.
Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you're listening. Part 2 of Leesha and Nathan's story here on the Marriage and the Buff podcast Sunday.
See you soon.
Have a great weekend.